What's happening, financial coaches? It's Pete here. Got an interesting scenario question here. So, coach has a client, and this is not super atypical, but it actually gets to the heart of coaching. So that's why I really like it, because this is actually a moment where a coach is hired as a coach to coach, and it actually happens less often than you might think. A lot of times, like I said, we're playing educator or counselor, kind of either telling people about what their options are or suggesting certain options. But sometimes the behavior is the problem, and they don't even realize that, right? So this person actually had a situation where they were working with a person who was, for the first time, delinquent on their mortgage. So they were actually late on their credit cards, and they were paying the minimums because that's all they could afford. But now there was this crossover point where the minimums are so high on their credit card and their mortgage payment was high enough that it outpaced their income. So there was just no way to pay them all. And so what ended up happening is that they are now late on their mortgage payment for the first time. And so this has kind of been an acute moment. And just like most people that come to a financial coach, they come to them in a state of an emergency. And so this is an emergency because now not only can they not pay the minimum on the credit card, but they didn't pay the minimum, which is the required amount on their mortgage as well. And the issue here is not so much this structure, but this coach worked with them now for a few weeks to strip out expenses and work on their budget and kind of get them closer to right. And yet then the coach said that when they came back, they had unfortunately charged a bunch of stuff to their credit card again. And they said, hey, it's necessities and stuff like this. And the coach is getting frustrated because, we're trying to get them right-sized. And then, when I'm not around, they just kind of go back to their old habits and spend money and put money on the card and, undo everything that we've done. Typical coaching problem. This is where you are getting paid as the financial coach to get involved. Now, the thing I usually use in this, and to this coach's point, how do I make them see the urgency of what they do? How do I convince them to do? And I think they're asking questions that in their mind are the right questions to another coach. But I think we're kind of rethinking, thinking about it in the wrong way, right? So yes, we want to get them to realize that, but that's not our problem to realize it for them. What we need to do is, yes, help them uncover the folly in their ways, should we say, right? If we want to be really blunt about it. And what I do is I ask continuing questions because what you want is them to see the urgency of it. But in the end, if you can't convince them of that, if you can't talk through what their options are and get them to choose a path to improvement and commit to it and do the things, it's not your responsibility. But as a coach, this is where most of our training comes from. So what I would say is that generally what I do in this situation is ask them, are they aware of this? Are they aware of this? Are you aware that, your balance is going up on the credit card? So the next month's minimum payment is going to be higher. The fact that you aren't paying right now, you are delinquent. If you are max out your credit card, you're not going to have credit. I'm not asking all these questions this fast, but what I want to do is continue to walk down this path so they realize, okay, if this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. My credit card, I run out of credit. And then I could ask those same things, probably going to the mortgage as quickly as possible. Are you aware that you are late on your mortgage payment? Even though you have paid some towards your mortgage, the payment is late. What ends up happening now is that generally they consider it late for 30 days. Once those 30 days are up and you have not made yourself whole, you are delinquent on your mortgage, at which point, I believe after 30 days, most mortgage companies can... They don't, and there were some rules in the previous few years here that made it a little bit different, but they can start foreclosure proceedings. And I think most people are surprised that you can start foreclosure process that quickly after not paying. As soon as you're delinquent on one, you've violated your contract, assuming that your contract does not give you some provision to rectify that, right? Now, in most cases, the mortgage companies are not set up to trigger a foreclosure response that quickly. However, you want to be proactive and get on it and call someone in customer service so that nothing gets triggered, right? And I think if they don't know that, this is your chance to start ending that. What happens if you don't bring that mortgage payment up to current within 30 days? Well, I'll just make the next mortgage payment in full, and a lot of times they are so focused on the here and now because they're trying to put food on the table, they're trying to put gas in the car, they're trying to deal with the issues, the firefighting that happens in these kinds of situations, that they aren't thinking about 30 days, 60 days, for crying out loud, certainly not thinking about retirement. So in many cases, what I'm trying to do is lead them and get them forward thinking on what happens so that they can understand the urgency of it. Now, it doesn't mean that there is a solution, because I can't manufacture money, right? But it does make them understand that, hey, I can't go out and just buy something next week because I want to, because we're used to it, and so far nothing bad has happened. The other reality on this is that I have worked with people that no matter how much I do this, no matter how much they buy, no matter how much they say, listen, we are in such a bad way, I might have to pull the kids out of school because I can't afford to send them to school and even pay for the subsidized lunches and the dry cleaning and the gas to get them to, that they're in such a bad situation. And then you come back and they have done something that totally undoes it. And I think the example that I've used in many cases is that after months and months and months of working with people, because they had a big hole in their wall because they started construction that they could not even finish, and they had just plastic sheeting over it, and their house was drafty and people were getting sick and animals were getting in and all sorts of stuff, and this was urgent. No matter what we did, they went out and spent that money, and ultimately, before even trying to figure out how to get the house fixed, they bought a brand new car, right? Financed it over 8 years. And what I said is that at that point, I cannot internalize the panic and anxiousness of your financial situation more than you do, right? And that was the point when I fired them. And this is not something that's like, it's just not worth my effort. You don't get it. I really put a lot of effort into it. Thought we had buy-in a couple of times, but clearly they didn't. And in fact, they kind of knew it was at the end, because they would stand me up for appointments at the very end. And so it wasn't just the fact that we were disconnected on, you said you were going to do something, you didn't do it. It was, in one case, I was going to their house for an appointment, and I saw them frantically trying to leave before I got there so that they would not have to be accountable to me or explain themselves to me. But generally, I run a little early on my appointments, So, I saw them hastily getting packed up in their brand new Honda Odyssey and getting out of there. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up because this was a real world situation. They thought, the coach thought they were making progress. They probably were. These people were probably receptive to your suggestions. You may not have done anything wrong. And how do you make the urgency for them? I think all you can do is paint the picture, right? Paint the picture of what happens. Have them kind of walk through, explain, have them understand what the consequences are. If you go into foreclosure, what happens in that case? Well, they evict you from your house. Okay, kind of going through what are the consequences of everything so that they really know it. Not just assume, like, don't they understand they could lose the house by doing this? Make sure that they truly understand that. And if they don't believe you, or if they don't really think something's going to happen, or the guy had someone in foreclosure for 2 years before, they were able to kind of bring their accounts back. That, honestly, that could happen too. So anyway, I just bring that up because that's what I do. It doesn't always work, but this is core financial coaching, and that's why I kind of love this, because if you can break through with people on this is where we are getting paid the money to help people break through to the other side through their own thinking, through their own holdups, their own barriers, and that can be a life-changing moment for them. So hopefully that helps. I'll see you later.